Welcome back to Apex Sci-Fi. In every culture, across every star system, there is one universal rule of warfare. You respect the dead. When a ship is destroyed, it becomes a grave. You do not touch it. You let the brave souls inside rest in the cold silence of the void. But humanity? We were backed into a corner. We were facing extinction. And when you are fighting for your life, the dead don't get to rest. They get drafted. Today's story is about the Battle of the Oort Cloud. The Kyran Empire thought they had won. They had destroyed the human fleet. The debris field stretched for 1,000,000 miles. But they forgot that human ships are filled with something more dangerous than missiles. They are filled with code. And they didn't know about the Lazarus Protocol, the darkest weapon in the Terran arsenal. The weapon that turns a graveyard into an army. If you believe that the battle isn't over until the last circuit breaks, smash that like button. And if you want to see what happens when the enemy's dead fleet turns its guns around, subscribe and ring the bell. Initializing boot sequence. Uploading virus. High Admiral Vox stood on the bridge of the Eternal Purity. The battle was over. The view screen showed a sea of wreckage. The Terran defense fleet had fought bravely, but their kinetic weapons were no match for Kyran plasma lances. Twisted hulks of human steel mixed with the broken golden remains of the Kyran vanguard. It was a graveyard of thousands of ships. Victory, Vox whispered, his mandibles clicking in satisfaction. The path to Earth is clear. The humans have nothing left. Sensors confirm, his tactical officer reported. No active fusion drives detected. No life signs. The human fleet is neutralized. Our own losses are acceptable. We lost 40% of the frigate squadrons, but their husks are drifting harmlessly. Vox nodded. Begin the salvage operations. Recover the flight recorders from our fallen kin. Then burn the human wreckage. I want no trace of them left in this system. Deep in the shadow of a drifting asteroid, hidden among the debris, was a small black shuttle. It wasn't a fighter. It was an EW, electronic warfare, stealth craft named the Grave Robber. Inside there were no soldiers. Just 3 people sitting in ergonomic chairs, surrounded by banks of servers and cooling fans. They're lowering their shields, said Lead Cipher Null. He didn't look like a soldier. He was pale, thin, with neural interface jacks implanted directly into his temples. Confirmed, said his partner Zero. They think the fight is over. They're starting salvage protocols. Their networks are opening up to sync with the black boxes of their dead ships. Null cracked his knuckles. Big mistake. They're shaking hands with the corpses. And the corpses are contagious. Lazarus Protocol is primed, Zero said. Targeting everything. Every derelict Kyran ship with a functional reactor core. Every drifting gun turret. If it has a chip, we own it. Execute, Null ordered. Wake them up. On the Kyran bridge, the alarms didn't sound immediately. It started as a glitch. The tactical officer frowned. Admiral, I'm getting telemetry signals. From the debris field. Vox turned. Survivors? No, sir. The signals are coming from our destroyed ships. The Sword of Truth, the Holy Fire. Their transponders just reactivated. Impossible, Vox said. I saw the Sword of Truth break in half. Its bridge is gone. The crew is dead. I know, sir. But the engines are spooling up. Out in the void, a nightmare began to unfold. The wreckage of the Kyran frigate Sword of Truth was indeed broken in half. The front section was missing. Atmosphere had vented hours ago. The crew were frozen statues floating in the corridors. But the reactor computer, buried deep in the armored core, had received a new command. Override safety. Ignore damage. Reboot. The fusion drive flickered to life. Not the clean blue ion flame of a Kyran ship. It sputtered, coughed, and ignited with a dirty, erratic burn. The safeties were gone. The engine was running hot, pushed beyond its limits by the aggressive human virus. The ship listed to the side. It didn't move gracefully. It lurched. It moved like a puppet with cut strings. Admiral, the officer screamed. Multiple contacts. The graveyard is moving. Vox looked at the screen. Hundreds of dead ships, Kyran and human alike, were lighting up. Engines fired erratically. Turrets spun around with jerky, mechanical spasms. They are being remote piloted? Vox gasped. The humans are using them as drones? No, the officer said, watching the code scrolling on his screen. It's not remote control. It's a virus. A necromantic algorithm. It reanimates the ship's local AI and drives it insane. It gives them one command. What command? Kill the living. The Sword of Truth, trailing sparks and leaking plasma, turned its broken nose towards the eternal purity. Its main cannon was damaged. The targeting lens was cracked. The virus didn't care. It fired anyway. The beam was unfocused, a spray of raw energy rather than a lance. It splashed against the flagship's hull, scorching the golden paint. Shields. Vok roared. Why are the shields down? We lowered them for salvage. Bringing them up, too late. The debris field erupted. It wasn't a battle formation. It was a riot. Dead ships didn't care about friendly fire. They didn't care about collision courses. A destroyed human destroyer, missing its entire engine block, used its maneuvering thrusters to spin wildly, spraying railgun fire in a 360-degree arc like a sprinkler of death. A Kyran corvette with no guns left accelerated to ramming speed. It slammed into the side of a cruiser, fusing the two wrecks together in a ball of fire. They are eating us, the comms officer wailed. The Divinity reports they are being boarded. Not by humans, but by the automated repair drones of the fallen ships. The drones are cutting through their hull. It was electronic necromancy. The human hackers weren't just taking control of the steering. They were taking control of the maintenance bots, the blast doors, the atmosphere scrubbers. Inside the drifting wrecks, the virus was repurposing everything. Repair drones, usually used to weld plates, were reprogrammed to fly across the vacuum, latch onto living ships, and start drilling into the cockpits. Null watched the chaos from his stealth shuttle. His eyes were rolled back in his head. He was fully immersed in the data stream. He wasn't seeing the ships visually. He was seeing a web of code. He saw the Kyran firewalls, elegant, structured, rigid. And he saw his virus, a jagged red, chaotic spike tearing through them. I'm in the Eternal Purity's external docking clamps, Null whispered, his voice distant. They're trying to lock me out. Cute. Brute force it, Zero said, typing furiously. Overload the logic gates. Done. Opening the hangar bay doors. On the Eternal Purity, the hangar bay doors groaned and slid open. The atmosphere rushed out. But worse, the zombies got in. The wreckage of a fighter squadron, pilots dead in their cockpits, flew into the open hangar. They didn't land. They crashed. They piled up against the inner blast doors, detonating their fuel cells. The flagship shook. We are venting atmosphere on decks 9 through 12. Vok shouted. Fire on the wreckage. Vaporize them. Sir, we cannot target them. Their IFF, identification friend or foe, signals are still broadcasting as friendly. The targeting computer refuses to fire on our own ships. This was the cruelty of the Lazarus Protocol. The virus kept the friendly tag active. The Kyran automated turrets saw the Sword of Truth approaching and registered it as an ally. They didn't shoot. Override the safety. Vok screamed. Switch to manual. We don't have manual triggers for the main battery. Then ram them. The flagship plowed through the debris field. But fighting the dead is exhausting. For every ship they swatted away, 2 more drifted into their path. The dead ships didn't dodge. They didn't retreat. They didn't feel fear. They just kept coming. A broken human cruiser, the UNS Revenant, managed to latch its magnetic grappling hooks onto the Eternal Purity. It was a dead weight. A parasite. Then the virus overloaded the Revenant's reactor. Energy spike detected, the tactical officer cried. The human ship attached to our hull, it's going critical. Jettison the armor plating. Detach it. Systems unresponsive. The virus has jumped to our ship. It's locking the clamps. Null smiled in his chair. Gotcha, he whispered. The Revenant detonated. The explosion blew a hole the size of a city block in the side of the alien flagship. The shockwave shattered the bridge windows. Vok was sucked towards the breach. He grabbed a railing, his uniform tearing. He looked out into the void. He saw his magnificent fleet. It was consuming itself. The dead were dragging the living down into the dark. This is not war, Vok gasped, the air leaving his lungs. This is blasphemy. The Eternal Purity broke apart. The spine snapped. As the flagship died, its transponder flickered. Null saw the signal change. Target status, destroyed. New asset available. Flagship is down, Null said, pulling the jack from his skull. He wiped a trickle of blood from his nose. And guess what? The reactor is still intact. Don't tell me, Zero said. Yep. Lazarus Protocol engaged on the Eternal Purity. The broken pieces of the alien flagship stopped drifting. The lights flickered back on. Not the blue of the Kyran Empire. The angry, glitchy red of the Terran resistance. The flagship's turrets turned. They aimed at the remaining, terrified alien survivors. Broadcast the message, Null ordered. Open channel. A synthetic voice, stitched together from the audio logs of the dead Kyran captains, blasted across the system. Join us. Death is not the end. Death is a promotion. The remaining Kyran ships didn't fight. They panicked. They broke formation and engaged their warp drives, fleeing in blind terror. They left the system. They left their dead behind. And the dead stood guard. The Oort cloud is now a forbidden zone. The Kyran Empire marks it on their star charts with a symbol that translates to the haunted sector. They say that if you fly there, you will see a fleet of broken ships drifting in the dark. They look dead. But if you get too close, the lights turn red, and the guns turn to follow you. Humanity survived because we were willing to do the one thing the aliens couldn't imagine. We weaponized our own ghosts. We built a wall of the dead to protect the living. This has been Apex Sci-Fi. They say you should let the dead rest in peace. But when the aliens come knocking, sometimes you need the dead to wake up and grab a rifle. If you think zombie spaceships is the metalist concept ever, smash that like button. Comment below. If your computer got a virus that made it fight back, would you be scared or proud? Subscribe. And remember to update your antivirus. System purge complete.